Just because you're a great player doesn't mean you're going to make a great coach.
Cannot play with them. Cannot win with them. Cannot coach with them. I want winners.
Some all-time great pros just can't make that transition to coach. So, let's take a look across the broader sports landscape and identify 5 Hall of Fame players who went on to be horrible coaches and 5 who turned out amazing. Horrible Bart Star NFL. There are some names in NFL history that are so universally recognized that they have almost become synonymous with the league's lore. And Bart Starr, former Green Bay Packers legend, is one of those names. As a player, Bart Starr was legendary. He was the first superstar signal caller to really become a household name, and he managed to lead the Green Bay Packers to a combined 5 Super Bowls and NFL championships. And his career even dates back pre-Super Bowl. There is no shortage of accomplishments that Starr was able to pin to his trophy case as one of the game's pioneers. After all, we're talking about the guy that earned MVP honors in the first 2 Super Bowls in league history. Unfortunately for Starr and the Packers, all that magic that he had under center running the offense for legendary head coach Vince Lombardi did not translate super well to coaching. While Starr coached the Packers between 1975 and 1983, the Packers really struggled to find any of the consistent success that they had while he was actually on the gridiron himself. Those Green Bay teams compiled a 52-76-3 record and never even came close to sniffing a Super Bowl. Amazing? Forrest Gregg, NFL. During his playing days, Forrest Gregg was one of the most important contributors on the early Packers teams. He secured 3 Super Bowl rings as a player, was a 9-time Pro Bowler, and was critical in opening up opportunities for the run game as well as protecting his Hall of Fame teammate and quarterback Bart Starr. Gregg did an unbelievable job of turning his knowledge of the game into a successful coaching career. He had a nice run with the Packers and Browns and managed to make a Super Bowl appearance with the Cincinnati Bengals in Super Bowl 16. You might think that linemen are brutish mountain men who are just looking for somebody to hit, but Gregg proved that stereotype isn't always true. His leadership abilities and deep knowledge of the game were integral to his success as a head coach once his playing days were done. Horrible Magic Johnson, NBA. Magic Johnson was one of the most dazzling performers on the hardwood during his playing days. Basketball fans were amazed on a night-to-night basis with his versatility and showmanship. After all, he was the face of the Showtime Lakers. But it wasn't just that ridiculous physical playmaking ability that allowed Magic to lead the Los Angeles Lakers to 5 NBA championships, during which he earned 3 MVP awards. Johnson was widely regarded as one of the most intelligent players that the game had ever seen. It was like he could see passing lanes that others couldn't, and he knew where his teammates were going to be before they did. Unfortunately for Magic, he was never really able to bottle this up into anything transferable to the players during his admittedly brief coaching stint in 1994, which came to an abrupt end with a 5-11 record. Amazing Mike Ditka, NFL. While you might not think that playing the tight end position correlates to becoming a successful head coach in the NFL, like, say, playing quarterback would, Mike Ditka actually was one of the more impressive Hall of Fame players turned head coaches that the game has ever seen. During his playing days, he was one of the toughest SOBs that the game ever knew. He blocked like a madman and was way ahead of his game with the way that he could reliably catch the ball as a tight end at the time. Oh, and let's not forget, we're talking about a 5-time Pro Bowl selection. Ditka was as legit as it gets. What's interesting about Ditka as a coach is that he was able to find a unique way to take that identity he had as a player and integrate it into his team. That toughness and grit he played the tight end position with all those years became the culture in Chicago, and what all of his Bear teams were known for. He wasn't a perfect coach, as he had some issues navigating the egos of certain star players, but he was pretty darn good, all this considered. He compiled a 121-95 record across his career and led the iconic 85 Bears to a blowout win in Super Bowl 20, which ultimately cemented their legacy as one of the greatest teams to ever line up on a football field. Horrible Mike Singletary, NFL. The case of Mike Singletary is an interesting one. The Hall of Fame linebacker obviously played on the defensive side of the ball during his epic playing career, and during that time, he gained a reputation for his extreme toughness, grit, and knowledge of the game. A very similar profile to the aforementioned Mike Ditka. Only Singletary was even more proficient at his position. Chicago's star secured 10 Pro Bowl selections and was named NFL Defensive Player of the Year. So we may have misspoken a little bit earlier because, Mike Singletary was as legit as they get. But don't worry, Ditka is like a close second here. Anyway, the advantage that Singletary had over Ditka, and frankly, 99% of the guys who have ever played the game of football, just didn't really seem to align with success as a head coach. This could in part be because he started his head coaching career much much later in life, taking the head job with the 49ers in '08, a full decade after he had been inducted into the Hall of Fame, let alone retired. And, yeah, let's just say it was not pretty. San Francisco's decision to hire the legend was a complete flop. They recorded an 18-22 record, and he didn't even make it through the end of the 2010 season as the 49ers put him on the chopping block. Amazing? Joe Torre, MLB. Joe Torre is a unique case, as his managerial career was so impressive and admittedly distanced time-wise that it completely overshadows what was actually an insanely accomplished playing career that I'd bet a ton of today's fans aren't fully aware of. Back in his heyday, Torre was a 9-time MLB All-Star and even won National League MVP honors in 1971. It may have taken him a while to be inducted into the MLB Hall of Fame because of their ridiculous standards, but hey, he was legit. And then when he transitioned into his role as the Yankees manager, well, the rest, as they say, is history. He led the Yankees to 4 World Series wins in '96, then 3 in a row between '98 and 2000. When all was said and done, he had recorded over 2,300 wins as a manager. Simply ridiculous. Horrible? Ted Williams, MLB. While Ted Williams may have been an even better player than Torre, not to mention the last guy to hit 400 for a full season, he was never able to complete the transition to manager in the same way that his peer was, as Williams' managerial career was far less accomplished than his playing career. It's honestly not even worth comparing the two from a managerial standpoint. The delta between them is just too massive that there's really no clear lane to draw a comparison. It's like they had 2 different post-playing careers entirely. Looking more closely at what Williams did with the clipboard in hand, he finished his run as manager with a 273-364 record and no playoff appearances, which, let's face it, is a massive disappointment. When juxtaposed to his 2-time MVP, 6-time batting champion run with the Red Sox, Williams was a bona fide Hall of Fame player in every sense of the term. Unfortunately, coaching just wasn't his deal. Amazing? Bill Russell, NBA. When you talk about a guy that was able to take what he stood for as a man and frankly as a basketball player and open up new ways of thinking and being for the men around him, Bill Russell is the first name that comes to mind. Long before he was known for being one of the great social activists of our time, Bill Russell was a leader of men on the basketball court. So much so that the 5-time NBA MVP even had a stint where he was named the player coach of the Boston Celtics. Crazy as that might be to imagine in the context of today's sports, it's true. And Russell did a pretty damn good job at it too. The all-time great captured 2 of his 11, yes, I repeat, 11 NBA championships while he was playing for and coaching the team, which is an accomplishment that I highly doubt will ever be matched. It's interesting that Russell, unlike many other great players, even ones that exemplified strong leadership capabilities on the court, was able to rise to take that skill set and apply it as a coach. It wasn't just a matter of shouting rah rah and getting the guys excited before games either. Both as a player and a coach, Russell had a unique ability to set the standard for the way that the team needed to play, particularly when it came to the small things, and of course, the defensive side of the ball. As both a player and a coach, and a man really, Bill Russell will always be remembered as one of the best to ever do it. Horrible? Wayne Gretzky, NHL. While today's hockey fans love to make noise about players like Connor McDavid, most hockey historians will tell you that there is very little chance that Wayne Gretzky is ever unseated as the GOAT of the NHL. I mean, his nickname was literally the Great One, and he set darn near every record in the sport, including the most points, and did so with such a massive gap between his competition. If what he accomplished as an individual wasn't enough, Gretzky's abilities also translated extremely well to team success, as he won 4 Stanley Cups as a player too. Looking back, however, it does appear that his translation abilities sorta ended there, as his tenure as the head coach of the Phoenix Coyotes was, well, not exactly successful. And not just compared to what he accomplished as a player either, it was just outright bad. He finished with a 143, 161, and 24 record, and the Coyotes never came close to simping the level of competence that Gretzky's team did during his playing days. Granted, the deck was in some ways stacked against him considering the relative newness of the franchise and the region's relative disinterest in the sport as a whole, but hey, still, I think the entire world was expecting a bit more out of the Great One. Amazing Tommy Hinson, NBA. Many of today's NBA fans may know Tommy Hinson as the former broadcasting voice of the Boston Celtics, which he was for many years and with great success. But you know, there's actually a time when he was not only an accomplished coach, but he was also a great player in his own right. Hinson was 8-time NBA champion as a player for the Celtics, which admittedly can be largely attributed to his legendary teammate at the time, Bill Russell, but he can't hold having good teammates against Tommy, especially not when he was a 6-time All-Star in his own right. After his playing days, Hinson had the opportunity to coach the Celtics and lead the team to 2 NBA titles and 1 NBA Coach of the Year honors in '73. And yes, for anyone who was wondering, he carried that same animated bravado he had as a broadcaster during his playing and coaching career. But which of the Hall of Fame players do you think were best head coaches, and who do you think were the worst? Was there anyone that we may have missed? Let us know in the comment section below. If you liked this video and learned a thing or two, clicking the like button helps out a ton, and hey, we appreciate it. If this is your first time coming around to TPS though, subscribing is a great idea, because we put out videos like this every single day. But as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.